Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
And my name is Jeff.
And we're going to answer your questions today, but first, I have a question. Jeff.
Yep.
How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. I am pretty excited that there was announced Baldur's Gate 3
Yes.
was announced, and it is being made by the people who made Divinity Original Sin.
Oh, okay.
At least Original Sin 2. I don't know if it's the same team that made the first one. I imagine it is. But anyway, Divinity Original Sin 2 is a fantastic game. Mm-hmm. Really good. I love the combat because it's turn-based.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a co-op game. You can play with up to four players, and you can all move around independent and do like a split screen thing. Mm-hmm. You know, you can do local co-op and all that. So like there's lots of options. But the cool thing is like when one person gets into a battle and it's turn-based, everything doesn't freeze for everybody.
Oh, okay.
Like there's basically a area in which the combat is taking place, and if somebody from outside steps into it, they get moved into the next round of initiative.
That's actually really cool.
It's really cool, and it's like, you know, it's turn-based tactical, and like you can use the terrain, and like there's effects on the terrain, so like there might be like water on the ground, so if you hit somebody with an electric attack, it you know, shocks them and does more damage, or you can freeze it and they might slip on it or something.
I am always a fan of turn-based games that like involve the environment and stuff like that.
So I'm pretty excited for that team to be working on an actual D&D game. Mm-hmm. And the teaser for it was very exciting for me because it involved, well, I'll let people watch it.
Okay. I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Similarly, they announced Neverwinter Nights for the Switch.
Oh, that's right.
So Neverwinter Nights is actually very old computer game. It was out before I started playing D&D. So it's been out for probably over 15 years by this point. They recently released on Steam and various platforms the Enhanced Edition, which is like it's upscaled, you know, works with HD displays and whatnot. Yeah. It's got all of the DLC included, all the expansions because they didn't call them DLC at the time.
Right, yeah.
It's that old. They released the Enhanced Edition for Steam. I got it on Steam a couple weeks ago on sale. It was like $4. But then they announced it's coming out on the Switch.
Yeah.
And one of the great things about Neverwinter Nights is that even way back when it first came out, you could make your own modules for it. One person could make a D&D game in this computer game, which is based on 3rd edition D&D. And then other players could play through your game. And you could even play other people's games online. It was like really, really, really good. The Switch version is going to have multiplayer cross-play with PC.
Right. So somebody could be sitting at their PC being a DM, and like you could have like 3 people in the room playing on their Switches or whatever.
And I think that is amazing.
Now, I will say that the Divinity Original Sin 2 has that same sort of game mode thing that you can do. And so I am hope against hope, hoping that they are going to make a version of Baldur's Gate. The version of Baldur's Gate 3 that I'm hoping for is them having a DM mode.
Yeah.
That is using modern day gaming technology.
Okay.
To make a D&D game that you can create worlds and stuff like that. I want it to be I'm just hoping it's like the perfect virtual tabletop.
Sure. You know? Yeah. There really isn't an excuse for there not to be this exact game.
Yeah.
It's Neverwinter Nights had stuff like this 15 years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
They should be able to do this nowadays and do it really, really well.
Yeah. I love Neverwinter Nights.
It's a great game.
The first time I ever bought a graphics card
was
for Neverwinter Nights.
Awesome.
Because before it was just like, my dad's computer. Okay, I play games on it. But like Neverwinter Nights was the first game where I was like, I looked at the specs and was like, oh shoot. Mm-hmm. Like I'm like, we just have a standard. I don't even think it had a graphics card. I think it just it was just like visuals off of the processor or something like that. Yeah. So that was the first time I ever upgraded a computer, and first time I bought a graphics card, and it came with a copy of Splinter Cell.
Okay,
which was a pretty good game.
Yeah. My first time I ever upgraded my computer was for World of Warcraft. So
there you go.
Similar.
Yep.
My first time ever playing Neverwinter Nights, I had just started playing D&D with this group that I like. They taught me how to play the game and everything. I played with them. I think the group eventually fell apart, but I was still pretty good friends with the DM, and he would have me over. I would come over to his house, and then we'd go into his basement. They had like 3 computers down there, so he would be at one computer, I'd be at another. We'd be playing in the same world, but we didn't have to stay together.
Yeah,
we're in like a big city. There's a bunch of side quests in every direction. He would go off in his direction. I would go off in my direction.
Right.
And it was so cool. We were both playing the same game, and we could affect each other and each other's games and such, but we could be on our own computers doing our own thing.
If I'm remembering correctly, like the first like major quest line of Neverwinter Nights was like you're in Neverwinter, and there's like I think there's like 3 or 4 different like districts you got to go and do a certain thing in.
Yeah.
And you got to get like artifacts or something.
There's this disease, and the cure for the disease can be gotten from these 4 creatures. You have to catch the 4 creatures, escape.
Yes.
And you have to go through the city catching the 4 creatures and bring them back.
Right. Or at least part of them. I want to say you like end up with like
you're trying to you kill them and you bring back like the piece of them that has the component that you need.
Right. So like as you bring back each piece, like you turn it into the main quest giver, and she like sort of like announces to everybody, to the city, like, you know, the adventurers have, you know, collected the piece of the dryad.
Water Davian creatures.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The Water Davian creature. Oh gosh, dang it. See, is it on Switch yet, or is it
comes out in December?
Oh.
It's out on. Here's the thing, though, Jeff. We could play this for Friend Quest.
We could. Oh, that'd be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go back. Like, and I own like the diamond version, the edition or whatever, which is this, you know.
Yeah.
As far as
I've bought several versions of Neverwinter Nights over the years,
and I think Steve told me that like the enhanced edition doesn't have any enhanced graphics yet.
Oh,
or something.
I just know it scales. It scales really well. You don't have to do any mods to make it look to make it fit your screen, which you do have to do with the originals.
Yeah, like you had the only the resolution only went up to like, I don't know, like at most like 700
something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, great series. I mean, like, and I remember the original Baldur's Gate games. Like the first one was in 2nd edition. Mm-hmm. The second one I think was like in a pseudo 3rd edition.
Okay.
Like it was still 2nd edition because you were like moving characters from the first one to the second game.
Yeah.
But like it was around the time when 3rd edition was a thing.
Sure.
So, or 3rd edition was like coming around or something. So like they added like a monk class. I think monk and barbarian.
Okay.
I think were added. And so like, but they were, you know, trying to fit those into a 2nd edition rule set.
Sure.
So it was kind of neat actually. And then Neverwinter Nights was, I think, 3.0.
Yeah.
I want to say.
And then I think some of the expansions added in some things from 3.5, but the rules themselves never really like shifted over to 3.5.
Right, yeah. So I'm just so excited about the
Baldur's
Gate 3.
I'm excited about all of this, stuff.
I am just hoping so hard that like we can just play D&D over the internet with visual stuff using you know Baldur's Gate 3. Like if the map making tools are really good, like I'll spend the rest of my days designing stuff. It'd be so fun.
All right, cool. So some exciting stuff to wait for in the future.
Yep.
Just a couple other little things. I bought a new 3D printer. I've been having issues with my 3D printer. I figured out what the problem is, and it's something that basically I'm very lucky hasn't bothered me in the past. Like it's always been a problem. It just never really came up.
Sure.
So I did order a better printer. My wife told me like, hey, you already use it a whole bunch. Go ahead and buy a better one. And so I still have the old one. I'll still use it for stuff, but I did buy like the best one in my price range, which from what I've heard is like one of the best ones on the market.
Sure.
So,
awesome.
So I'm excited about that. It hasn't arrived yet. Probably it'll arrive tomorrow. Also, apparently, the new FromSoft game has been announced, and George R.R. Martin is like writing for it.
Excuse me?
Yeah, George R.R. Martin and FromSoft. Sorry, it hasn't been announced. It was leaked.
Oh,
is
this like for sure thing?
I'm pretty sure it is. It is like it had been rumored for a long time that George R.R. Martin was working with FromSoft, and with E3 coming up, there was some sort of a leak that made it seem pretty official. I want to say it's called like Elder Ring or something. I'm embarrassed that I didn't bring it up, but oh well. All right, so you want to go ahead and jump into this episode, Jeff?
Sure.
Okay. This intro was submitted by Adam G. by email, as was the item. You find yourself at a local marketplace around mid-morning on a cloudy Saturday.
Okay.
The usual tents are up. You see cheeses, vegetables, small tools, and miscellaneous items, smoked and fresh meat. Your favorite stand is near the east corner of the market.
Awesome.
Give me a perception check as you approach your favorite stand.
Ah, jeez, here we go.
Okay. You get up to the stand. Everything looks normal to you, but you start trying to get somebody's attention, and you realize that you're not actually at your favorite stand. You're standing at the foot of a giant statue that was not there the previous week.
Okay.
You almost bumped into it. Maybe you mistook it for a giant standing in the way or something. But your favorite vendor isn't here, and instead there's this stone statue in his place. What do you do?
I don't know. I'll look around.
Okay. You start inspecting this statue. As you do, you are sort of like looking over by the statue's face, and then you see the statue's eyes open, and it sort of turns to look at you, and it is no longer a statue. It's a person. It's a vendor.
Oh.
And the vendor says to you, "Welcome, friend. I'm Lord, and am new to this market. You haven't heard of me? Well, I'm sure you've heard my jingle. If you are in need and have the gold, listen to tales that great adventurers told. For the best in the land, go to Treasures of Lord and find your wares at the Dragon's Hoard." So again, that was submitted by Adam G, as was this item. The item is a very simple one. Mm. Maybe we'll get some good discussion out of it. Maybe it'll just be we'll cover it and move on.
Sure.
The item is the Boots of Stone.
Boots of Stone.
Once per day, refreshes exactly at midnight.
Oh.
As an action, you turn into stone for up to 24 hours. You can hear and see, but you can't turn your head or move your eyes, but you can dismiss this effect at any time.
Okay.
So the merchant in the story, I guess, was wearing the boots.
Sure.
And then when you were inspecting him, he came out of the thing.
That's really cool. You know what it made me think of?
What's that?
Well, because I'm confusing two items, obviously. There's the boot in Mario 3.
Oh, Kuribo's shoe. Yes, we covered that on another episode.
But it made me think of the Tanuki suit.
Absolutely.
Which turn into stone.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like, I don't know, like it kind of fits the Mario 3 theme, I think.
Yeah.
But
so
being able to turn into a stone statue, disguise yourself,
definitely got its uses.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So it is very reminiscent of the Tanuki suit, which for anybody who did not play Mario 3 was a power up that you got in that game where it gave you you were wearing like a raccoon suit pretty much, although I mean specifically it's a Tanuki suit, a Tanuki being a real life creature in Japan, but also a mythical creature in Japan. A real life creature that had mythical properties attached to it. And you could fly because that's how the raccoon tail worked in that game. But also, if you pressed down and B, you would turn into a statue.
Right. For
as long as you held down and B, you would remain immobile. Nothing could hurt you, but you couldn't move.
Yeah.
So very similar to that. There was another Mario game where it didn't involve the Tanuki suit, but in Mario RPG, there's a point where Mario poses as a statue. He gets himself painted gold, and he's in a temple, or not a temple, a palace where there's all these gold statues. So he's posing as one of the statues, and then this bad guy comes along, and he's a big bird. He starts pecking the statues to make sure that they're not Mario in disguise.
Right.
So there's a little mini game where every time he goes and he'll peck one statue, peck the next statue, and then he goes to peck you. You have to jump at the last second so that you don't jump too early, so he doesn't see you jump.
Right.
But he goes to peck and he doesn't hit you. And then he moves on to the next one. But then he starts doing them in different orders, and then he'll maybe he'll skip over one to get to you or whatever. But anyway, that made me think of that as well.
Sure.
So what do you think are some interesting uses of being able to turn into a statue?
I mean, really like an ambush or something would be good. You can ambush an enemy or something. So you're in a dungeon or a temple or something like that, and you can around the corner or some bad guys, you make a noise and turn into a statue and wait for them to come by.
Yeah.
It could be useful at a duel for tool for the DM, and then a nice little treat for the players to have once they've defeated whatever enemy is using it.
Like maybe they are hired to go and retrieve a statue or something, and then they go in, they fight a bunch of bad guys, they get the statue, they bring it back, they have it in there, they're waiting until the next day, they can see that they see the person who hired them, they're in their base, they've got this statue, they turn the lights off, they go to sleep, and then the statue comes to life. Mm-hmm. There you go.
That'd be pretty neat.
Yeah.
Or, some elaborate plan by an assassin or something like that. Yeah. Like where like somebody poses as like an art dealer and it is like, it like tries to get the, it's like, oh, I really want to get this one statue for the king as a gift or something. And it's like, oh, they go and get this statue, bring it back. Statue comes alive and like assassinates the king or something like that, and then the party is to blame because they brought him in there or something like that.
Here's an idea. Another like villain that could have this thing. Let's say there was a Medusa that killed a bunch of adventurers, turned them all to stone, but then eventually the Medusa got killed.
Okay.
There could be like an assassin or whatever that took up the Medusa's lair as its base.
Yeah.
And whenever someone comes in, just turns to stone, acts like a statue.
Right.
Watches them as they pass by, and then when they pass by, stab them in the back.
Right, yeah. That'd be pretty neat. So yeah, like among all the statues that the Medusa has left behind.
But then one of the players notices, wait a minute, the watch he's wearing is from the last... is from the Medusa was killed 5 years ago. That watch is from 3 years ago.
Sure, right. I recognize that watch anywhere.
Tupac is singing about the new Jordans or whatever.
Right, yeah.
So I think it's a pretty simple item. Mm-hmm. I don't really think there's much else. I mean, we could just try and come up with some more plot hooks or whatever if we wanted to. But I think that's up to everybody to decide for themselves. I think it's a neat item. Mm-hmm. I would love to toss this into a game and see what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that'll do it for the Dragon's Hoard for today. So thank you, Adam G, for both the item and the intro.
Yes.
Jeff, if anybody wanted to submit magic items for us to discuss, or questions for us to discuss, or stories for the funeral pyre, how would they do so?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com or check us out on our Interparty Discord. You can find the link at Facebook or Reddit, or just send us an email and we'll give you the link.
Yeah, get in contact with us somehow. We'll get that to you.
Yep.
The Discord's great. People submit stuff on there all the time. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun discussion happens on there. It's great.
Yeah. There's always something crazy going on. Whenever I'm at work, I always I can't always interact with the conversations, but I like reading everybody's discussions.
Yeah. Well, before we go any further, we do have a giveaway to give away today.
Oh, yeah.
So, as always, we're giving away a copy of Chapel on the Cliffs, courtesy of Goblinstone. Goblinstone is a great group of content creators in Europe, and they've created this great adventure, Chapel on the Cliffs. It's a low-level 5th edition adventure for, I think, 2nd through 5th level party members.
I think that's right.
I think. It's a great adventure. So we're giving away a copy every episode. Jeff, who is our winner today?
Today's winner is Matthew N.
Winner. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Yes. Congratulations, Matthew N. You should be getting that in your email pretty soon. If you don't, let us know. Be sure to check your spam folder. And be sure to let Goblinstone know what you think. Give them a review. I'm sure they can continue to make great products by getting your feedback, using it, whether you liked it or not. Use it to make their products better.
Yep.
And Jeff, if somebody wanted to enter this drawing, how would they do that?
Send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com with the subject line Chapel on the Cliffs.
Yes, correct. So yeah, it's real easy to enter. We're always needing more people. We're always needing people to give this adventure to. You know, it's a great adventure, and we want to share it with everybody. So just send us an email with that in the subject line. I also want to mention our wonderful patrons at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. We've got a Patreon page on there. We've got some cool rewards on there. We've got outtakes. We've got fantasy fiction I write every month. Hopefully by the time this episode goes out, I will have written this month's story. We'll see. We'll see. For a higher tier, we've got bonus episodes every month. We just a few days ago released a bonus episode for this month. Mm-hmm. It was a very long episode of us talking about Avengers Endgame.
Oh, that's right.
2 hours we talked about Avengers Endgame. almost as long as the movie itself,
That's
I
true.
guess. We got some really fun discussion on there. Total spoilers. Everything in there was spoilers.
We basically described
spoiled
the movie.
everything.
Yeah, we described the movie at length. And
Yes, but
at least all of our favorite parts.
But if you watch the movie and you enjoyed it and you want to hear people talk about it, I think we had some fun talking about it there.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, we've also got, for the highest tier, you can take part in a monthly Roll20 game that I or Jeff will run. I will also write about your character for that month's fiction.
Oh, right, yeah.
So some cool stuff on there. Check it out at patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. See if any of the tiers appeal to you. If they do, maybe think about tossing us a couple bucks and see if, get some cool stuff in return and help out the podcast.
Yep.
All right. And then just one last thing. Check out the other podcasts on the Crit Nation Fellowship. Check out Crit Academy at critacademy.com. Justin, Ian, and Brandon create new and reusable content for players and DMs alike. They've got some great stuff on there. They've got great products they've been coming out with, one of which I helped write, the Unearthed Tips and Tricks book. So you should get that product. It's very, very good. Even if I didn't write it, I would say it's very, very good. But you can buy that, and hey, I'll get a tiny little cut from it as well.
Sure, yeah.
So check them out, critacademy.com. Also, D&D Character Lab. Garen and Dan create characters every week and then pit them against each other and debate whose is better. And finally, Brute Force and Ignorance are on hiatus at the moment, but they are an actual play podcast with some great players, great DM, lots of fun. Let's get into some questions, Jeff.
Okay. Our first question comes from Stiltskin Kupo 84 on Reddit. How do you make camp interesting?
Yeah, we've had this question on here for a while, and it's there's a lot of things you can do, I guess. It's always the tendency, kind of similar to travel. Like we've talked about travel in the past.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Do you gloss over travel? Do you describe travel? It's real easy to just say, okay, yeah, you guys rest for the night. You wake up the next day, so on and so on. But I think that you really can make camp interesting if you want to, in different ways. The first way I would recommend is maybe try talking to your players. Ask your players, hey, is there anything that your character wants to do when you camp?
Right.
Maybe one of the characters says, oh yeah, I want to tell the other players about my backstory or something.
Sure.
You could maybe have a character wants to go hunting and catch some food, and then the DM or the player or whoever can describe what sort of animals they catch, what sort of tracks they find. You can try to make some skill checks in order to maybe give the players a benefit for the next day of travel. Maybe like if you think that if you as the DM, if you know that there's going to be an encounter the next day, maybe you could have the players make some skill checks. If they roll really well, maybe they get bonus on their initiative when the battle starts because they know, oh, we saw some giant tracks.
Sure, yeah. It might give them a heads up on what's going to happen.
Sure. Or maybe if they do really badly, tell them the wrong tracks so they get a penalty on something.
Sure.
When they encounter the monster, here's a weird idea. Let's say you were planning on having them fight some trolls, but they roll really badly on their checks. So maybe the next day you describe them as trolls, but it's actually something else stat-wise. So maybe some of the things they're like, wait a minute, but we're using fire on it. It's not helping. Well, it's not actually a troll. You thought it was a troll.
Right, yeah.
But it's actually just like a weird giant or something.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, just sort of, mess them up somehow. Yeah.
Sure. Just try and come up with something that will get the players more active when they go to rest. So if it's something character-based, if you want to get some exposition out there, if you want to have the players do some role playing, try and facilitate that and use some skill checks or whatever, and try to maybe give them a benefit afterwards because they did so.
Yeah.
Maybe give them all advantage, give them all inspiration.
Sure. For
everybody who, shared a story at the campfire.
Yeah. So sort of like a well-rested buff in like a video game or something like that. I want to say if you're going to be doing stuff during rests, try not to get in the habit of only doing rests when you're going to have a random encounter or something like that.
Good point.
So like if you normally gloss over your travel and rest,
yeah,
but then you decide, okay, you guys are camping for the night. Who's keeping watch?
Sure.
You're sort of setting up that expectation, like, okay, something's going to happen.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do activities in camp, make it like a regular thing, and it doesn't always have to be like a huge thing, but just like a small thing, Again, I keep referring to this same YouTuber, Z Bashu.
Yeah.
One of the videos that I always go back to because I think it's an interesting.
You always go Bashu? Sorry.
So, one of the videos I always go back to because there's some neat little like DMing like the techniques, I guess.
Yeah.
One of them is just like you like to get the characters to get to know each other. You sort of have like a little list of like questions you can have one character asks another, or just little things to help get to know each other. So maybe you have like a little list of things that you can bring up. It's like, oh, okay, player A, you once saw somebody, you once saw a monster, kill somebody you knew. Tell us about that. You kind of helped craft the player's backstory.
Yeah, have discussion prompts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So have and you throw maybe one or two of those out every time you stop at camp. And that way you can help, and that sort of like builds the bonds and between characters, between players, and then between the player and their character.
Yeah.
I had a weird thing come in my head where it's like, have camp could be like a little activity that is between the players that the DM doesn't necessarily have to be there for.
Okay.
Maybe. So like maybe it's sort of like a time for the DM to prepare the next area.
Sure.
So like camp could be, all right, you're at camp, 5-minute break. It could be as simple as that.
Yeah.
You could just make camp an out of game. Hey, okay, you guys are setting up camp. Let's take a 5-minute break.
That's kind of interesting, actually.
Right. I also thought of maybe like, I was like, okay, what could be something that could be done without the DM?
Yeah.
What if they played cards? What if you have like a card game? Let's say you have a magic deck of cards.
Okay.
That when you play when you play an honest game, with those cards, you get like some sort of magical buff. So it's just like you give the players like an objective to do outside of the game in a way. So it's like, okay, you just give them an actual game of play of cards.
Sure.
Although that kind of seems a little, I don't know, like you're treating them like children. You're trying to like,
here, go occupy yourself while I get everything ready.
I'll slip in this DVD of Shrek while I go get drunk in the kitchen.
Yeah.
No. Sorry, I described a really bad parenting habit. Don't worry, I don't have children.
Also, Shrek was not around when you were a child. So
well, I did watch when I was babysitting one of my nieces once. I put on Shrek, and like I liked Shrek, so I watched it too. and I remember like she was sitting on like the couch, which is in full view of like the front door.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in the chair, which is not.
Yeah.
And so my sister came and like knew that I was babysitting my niece, and like I was fairly young at the time, so they were a little like, hopefully he gets this right.
And it looked like you had just put on Shrek and left.
Yeah. So my sister walks in the door and she's like, Jeff, like, and I pick her in the corner and she's like, oh, okay, good. You're with her.
Yeah.
All right. Like, no, I just left the kid in there and went upstairs and played on my computer. No,
like, I'm getting drunk in the kitchen.
I'm getting drunk in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So yeah, some sort of activity that doesn't necessarily need the DM's full attention, so they can use that time to plan out the next, part of the adventure.
Sure. The important thing is that if you have players that are engaging in the story, they're engaging in the game world, then it's going to be easier to implement something like this. If the players are not interested in that, it's going to be real hard to get them to care about whether or not camp is interesting. Like you got to have some real interesting stuff for them to care.
Mm-hmm.
If it seems like none of these things would fit your group, don't force it.
Sure. Yeah.
But if you do want to, if you do think that the players will enjoy it, I was thinking maybe try and make camp into like a little bit of maybe a mini game.
Mm-hmm.
You could, this would probably be a lot of work to come up with all this stuff, but like you could build the camp as if it were like a dungeon or something, or like work with the players to figure out, okay, how are you camping tonight? Where are your tents located? Where are you going to be watching? Who's going to be keeping watch? Where are you going to be keeping watch from? What are you going to be doing to keep the fire from going out if it rains?
Sure.
Like work with the players to figure out some of the minutia of camp.
Mm-hmm.
If the players are engaging in the game world, that might be interesting to them. And then when you do have an encounter, when they do get ambushed in the night or whatever, then you could use some of that to their advantage. If they're always like, okay, yeah, we set up like barbed wire and all this stuff. We set up all these defenses. And that means that in the event they do get attacked, the players start off with a bunch of advantages.
Sure, yeah.
But it is going to take the right kind of players, and then also a lot of work setting that up ahead of time so it doesn't seem like the one time you work with them to come up with the camp is the one time they get attacked.
Right, yeah.
With what you were saying, Jeff, to give it some examples from other episodes of the podcast that we've mentioned, because you were saying like if it's the one time, if you know there's going to be encounters, so that's the one time you ask them who's on watch.
Yeah.
Similar to if they enter a room and you're like, yeah, there's a bookcase, a desk, and on the desk you notice there's a golden quill. Of course they're going to go for that. They're going to assume that quill is important.
Yeah.
But so going with that example, if the only time that it is ever in question is the one time where it becomes an encounter,
right,
the players are sort of going to suspect that from now on. You got to kind of like do it whether there's going to be an encounter or not, so that, you know, when it does lead to something else, it's not super obvious.
Right. And I feel like when the player suspects something, that is the biggest time sink in a session.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they will over-plan everything to meticulous detail when they suspect something, whether or not there's something actually there. Yeah. So like, you know, so you never want the players to suspect something. One, because you know, surprises are fun. Sure. You want to have good surprises.
And not every encounter should be bad.
Right.
Some encounters should be good. Maybe like a noble that got lost in the woods stumbles out and he offers them a reward if they help him get to safety or whatever. That can be a thing that happens.
Going back again to that Zebashu thing, which have we put that link up?
I put it in the show notes a couple times.
It's like one of the things is like they have like sort of like a like, you know, you're pulling you know, slips of paper out of a hat sort of thing, where they like, you know, the DM throws in 2 bad things and then every player can throw in 1 bad thing and 1 good thing.
Oh, okay.
And so for everyone, you know, for every player that adds into that, you have a higher chance of getting something good.
Oh my goodness. That is such a good idea.
It is. It's great.
Having the players design the random encounters.
Exactly. And like, you know, you would still go through them and like make sure that they make sense for the area and they're not like too powerful in one direction or the other. But
Jeff, you just blew my mind.
It's great, isn't it?
That is so good.
Like, you know, that's why I always bring this guy up, because like he's got some good content in there. Plus, you know, he has a few like just like D&D stories and he tells them pretty good. But yeah, it's just like, so like the, you know, maybe the rogue really wants, you know, there to be like a traveling merchant that he can steal from or something like that. So that might be a good one that he puts in there. But as a bad one, like, oh, okay, troll, you know. So like, you know, there's a chance that that traveling merchant might show up, and the next time you guys, you know, stop for a rest, you know, it might pass by, and then the, you know, the thief's gonna get really excited. You know? Yeah. So yeah, you're kind of you're letting the players sort of pick most of the random encounters. You know, the DM threw a couple in there too.
Yeah, and that's not specifically about camp, but I mean it can lead to camp, because when you rest, that's always the I don't know, the danger, I suppose, is that there might be an encounter in the middle of the night or the next day or whatever.
Maybe, yeah. You know what? If you're of the habit of doing an encounter in travels and camps and stuff like that, maybe the camp could be the time when the players come up with those things.
I really like this idea.
So like, okay, the players, everybody take 5 minutes, make your good thing and bad thing. Yeah. While I decide what I want to do in the next, you know, like once you guys travel and have done that random encounter, then I know what's going to happen next, you know?
Sure.
So,
yeah. So as far as like making camp itself more interesting, one idea that I had will kind of lead into our next question, I think. You can have players in the group tell stories. You can, you know, just have a moment like, hey, okay, you guys are sitting around the campfire. Who's telling tonight's story? Sure. You know, the player could make up a ghost story or a myth or something, and then bring that in. And then if you like, you don't have to do it because the thing about all of this is that if the players are making like a 12-day journey, you don't want to 12 times sit down and be like, okay, everybody decide what the camp is going to be. Okay, guys, make some skill checks for camp. Okay, guys, who's going to tell the story this time? All right. And then next 10 minutes later, all right, who's telling the story this time, and so on.
Yeah. If there's a lot of travel, you don't want to overdo it.
Right. But I mean, doing it maybe once a session can give the players some chance to flex their creative muscles and come up with some cool world building and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I really like that. So going with that question, or going with that solution to the next question.
Our next question comes from Potato Plunderer on email. How do I create stories of fiction, like myths and legends, within a game?
Yes. My first suggestion is have the players do it.
Yeah.
Let the players come up with your lore.
Because, like, myths and legends come from the people of the land. Your players are playing characters who live in that land. Yeah. Why not have them come up with it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying you should do this for every myth and legend,
right,
but, like, that is a great way to do it. And even if they say something that is at odds with the rest of the world building you've done,
it's a myth and a legend.
It's a myth and a legend. Since when are myths and legends true?
Yeah, like, it's, there's going to be some things like it's always in, stories and movies and stuff where, like, when you're hearing a legend, you hear it, like, something that's important to the overall story, and but you're hearing it from several different sources. There's always, like, a little detail that's off here and there, some person's going to, like the hero of the story is going to change, race and gender depending on who's telling it and that sort of thing, so, like, so if the player's going to make something up that's a little crazy, so what? That's their version of it. That's what their dad told them when they were little.
Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you can, like, I think that is the first thing I would recommend is having the players take some sort of an active part in coming up with the myths and legends. Mm-hmm. And then you as the DM, you can decide, okay, are any of these true? If so, which ones are true and how true are they? Mm-hmm. Other than that, if you the DM are trying to create stories of fiction in your game, I would say try to think up what are some important events in history, in the history of your world. Maybe there's a point where the king took power, or there was a big cataclysm that split a continent in half, or the elves came from another plane of existence or something. Think of various moments in history that would be important. Mm-hmm. And then think, what's a way that I can twist this a little bit, either to just make the actual event more interesting or to make people's retellings of the event more interesting.
Sure.
So again, not all myths and legends should be true. If they are, they're not myths and legends, they're history.
Sure, yeah. But yeah, the idea of myths and legends, like, it's supposed to be more exciting. There's a story that you're telling.
Like, if there's a story that gets told from person to person 10 times, it doesn't get less interesting with each retelling. That's not how stories work.
Yeah.
It's the guy, like the king that took power. Maybe originally the story is, okay, yeah, this king, he was a normal guy. He rose to power, led the people to victory, whatever. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe a few tellings down the line, he's not a normal person. He's a demigod, and he used his magical powers to, like, enhance the strength of all of the people of his country. And so that's why people in that country are really strong. It's not because they have good food and money and healthcare and everything. It's because they were given this magical power from a demigod.
Sure.
So think of an actual event and then think of how that would mutate over time.
Right, yeah.
Which, spoilers, that's how myths and legends, most myths and legends happened.
Right, yeah.
Some of them are just false, but a lot of them are an actual occurrence that then got twisted and manipulated as the years went on.
Yeah.
So, that's where you should start, and then that's kind of how you should let it go.
Yeah.
Another thing you can do kind of along the same lines is think of something that people in your world have to deal with that they don't like. Mm. And then think of what is the wackiest explanation I can think of ever. So, like, let's say there's a lot of rain. Okay, yeah, this area has a lot of rain. Okay, well, there's a demon that lives in the sky and it cries a lot. So that's where all the rain comes from. Mm-hmm. Someone in the world can believe that.
Right.
You can make that into a legend.
Or just like the way that, like, sort of people become certain things become demonized. It's like, well, okay, like, we don't like the rain. Mm-hmm. We also don't like Jim next door.
Yeah.
The rain comes from Jim, like, it's Jim's fault. He's a witch, and he makes the rain, and we hate it.
Yeah. I've talked about in my own personal campaign setting, I've changed the backstory of tieflings.
Right. Yeah.
That they are not actual demons. They're just the citizens that people have hated for a long time.
Right.
And so when you have to tell your kids a boogeyman story, you tell them about the demon that happens to share qualities with the family down the street that nobody likes.
Right, yeah.
So that's why people think of demons as having red skin and horns and tails. And that sort of thing can become insidious. And then over thousands of years, people believe that. Yeah. And then maybe that's why actual demons look that way, because demons shape themselves to look like people's fears.
Neat.
Maybe. Or you could just change the way the demons look and say that's not, they're not related at all.
Right, yeah.
But that is a way, that is like a real world thing that happens.
Sure, yeah.
So that is a very easy way to make myths and legends within your game. Mm-hmm. I think myths and legends within your game are great. Every game should have myths, legends, rumors, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I love it. That is how you build a world. You could do without a world map if you have myths and legends and rumors in place of it.
Yeah. Nobody actually likes reading real history. It's boring.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, parts of history are exciting, but those are the ones that get retold and retold and retold, and then become more and more fantastical.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a pretty fun way to fill out the world.
Yeah. So I don't really think we need much more on that question, but again, put it in the hands of your players. That should be I think that's a great thing to do.
Yeah.
And then second, come up with a very mundane thing that happened, and then just blow it up in every way you can.
With a big enough game table, if there's enough players, maybe even play a game of telephone. You start at one end, so that the DM will describe an actual thing that happened in history.
With some superfluous details.
Right. We'll tell it to the player on their left. Mm-hmm. And then that player will take to their left and so on, and retell it until it gets around back to the DM, and then the DM says, "Okay, the legend goes as follows."
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a great idea. Yeah. If you have a big enough group, you should definitely try that.
Yeah, there would probably be have to be a minimum of 5 players or something for that to actually
Yeah, you could even, if you have several weeks in advance, but you have a smaller group, without letting them write it down, tell it to one player, and then next week have them tell it to another player.
Sure.
Have them tell it to another one, and then eventually make its way back to you.
That's pretty good.
So now, kind of in keeping with both of those questions.
Oh, sure.
Kind of.
Our next question comes from Noah Wizard on Discord. What would a D&D party made up of entirely bards be like?
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe not. Although the traditional idea of a bard is they are the storyteller.
Sure. Yeah.
So
they'd be all about telling stories.
Yeah. One answer of this is they could be that group that's making up all the stories about about the world.
They're just every camp, they're sitting around telling stories.
Yeah.
In 5th edition, I think it'd be a well-rounded party.
Well, yeah. So I'll say I don't really think there's going to be a good, satisfying answer to this, because it could be anything.
Right. Yeah.
But if you got some ideas, toss them out.
Well, I know Noah put this out there with the intention of getting to me because I've expressed my love of the 5th edition bard because they are so well-rounded, and they have several archetypes that several specializations that could basically fit into any role. And they can still do those roles pretty well. Yeah. They can do a fighter sort of role, maybe not as good as a fighter, but maybe
80%.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, you got your axe and surge and stuff like that. So fighters are definitely going to be the best fighters.
Sure.
But a bard built to be a fighter is still going to get some work done.
And have a bunch of other stuff to make up for the abilities they didn't get.
Right. They're still going to have their spells, their bardic inspiration and stuff like that. Although most of their specializations usually turn those inspirations into something else. Well, not turn, but give them a different option.
Oh, yeah. So
it'll be you can use it normally, or with the fightery one, I think it's it gives them a bonus to their roll or something like that. It's something to help with their combat. Maybe give some bonus damage or something like that. So yeah, it'd be well-rounded because bards can be super great support healers.
Yeah. Some would argue they're the best healers, in fact.
I feel like they just because of all the other stuff they can do, on top of the healing, they're probably the best healers.
Yeah.
They could be very sneaky, roguey. They can, they have plenty of good spells to work with.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of utility stuff.
They might not be getting Meteor Swarm or anything, but they're still they get 9th level spells.
Yeah, exactly.
Do they get Meteor Swarm? I don't know.
I don't
Sorry.
know. I
Go on.
don't think so. I mean, like usually with bards, you're looking at more like enchantment and illusion stuff, but they get some other ones too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could have a well-rounded group. If everyone's a bard, you can still fill out each role, like you need a healer, you got it. You need someone for damage, you got it. You need some, some spells, thrown around for, who knows what, you got that. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah. So what would it be like? It would be insufferable because they're too good at everything. Impossible to DM for.
Yeah. I mean, no. I feel like you could put some challenges in front of them that would really benefit to have somebody more focused.
Sure.
On it, because I feel like if you stretch yourself too thin,
yeah, that's true.
You might come across something that would be trivial to a fighter, but to a bard in a fighter, role might be a little bit rough. Yeah, it depends on the challenge and like the abilities that would be required.
Yeah. Do you know? So there's the common expression "Jack of all trades, master of none."
Right.
That is actually only the first half of the expression.
Oh.
The full expression is kind of the opposite of that. It is Jack of all trades, master of none, still better than master of one.
Huh.
So like its original intent was to be even if you're not a master of anything, you're still better than the guy who's only a master of one thing.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
A lot of people just cut off the second half and only remember the first half, which makes it seem like, oh, well, you're the master of none.
Yeah, you're not the master of anything. Pff, get out of here. It's like, no, I'm the jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Like
the tangent, but another expression that people have cut off the second half of the meaning, second half of the saying, and it's completely changed the meaning, is people say blood is thicker than water.
Okay.
Originally, that expression was blood of the covenant is thicker than water of the womb. The blood is thicker than water is taken to mean blood is a stronger connection than a friendship. But the actual saying, blood of the covenant, is saying a deal you've made with someone is stronger than water of the womb. So a friend can be stronger than family.
Interesting. So
isn't that weird?
It's a forgotten second half that means the opposite. That makes it mean the opposite of what people think.
And that, to take it back to the last question, myths and legends sometimes make things complete. Like when things get told enough times, you completely lose the meaning, and it becomes the complete opposite. Maybe that king that everybody's talking about is a demigod that gave everybody superpowers. Maybe he was actually a complete and total jerk. He was not a good person at all. He only got power through slavery, and then the only reason everybody in the city is really strong is because like he did a eugenics program or something and killed off all the weak people so that only the strong people could procreate.
Right.
Oof. Anyway. Yeah. So a party of D&D party of bards could be just about anything.
Yeah.
It sounds cool to me.
Yeah. It sounds like an interesting idea for a campaign.
Yeah.
There was a time where we wanted to, or no, we didn't intend to do it, but we all ended up being a different specialization of wizard.
Yes, unintentionally. We all made our characters on our own and then came to the table. For a while, a long time ago, there was a point where I wanted to make a party of 4th edition fighters, each fighter having a different specialization. Because in 4th edition, I felt fighter was really, really good for that. Like if you wanted to, you could make a fighter that was like really, really good at being a tank. You could make a fighter that was really good at being sneaky and using like daggers and such. If you wanted to multi-class into cleric, because multi-classing was completely different in that edition, you were still a fighter. Like you would still technically be a fighter, just with like, you'd spend a feat and get a couple cleric abilities. You could make a fighter that was almost as good of a cleric as a cleric. And so that was the way I would have done it in 4th edition, was make a party of fighters. But in 5th edition, hey, make a party of bards and you're halfway there. Well, anyway, so I think that'll do it for our regular discussion questions for today. But we do still have our social media discussion questions. Last week's question was, you can make an adventuring party comprising 4 characters from popular fiction, but no more than 1 per franchise. Who do you pick?
Crap, I didn't think of anything. Shoot.
That's all right. I think I said the League of Extraordinary Thors.
The League of Extraordinary Thors.
What I was going with.
Oh, take it back. Oh man.
Yeah,
well, that's right. I had Greg House from House MD. in there, because like he's addicted to solving puzzles.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like that. Like That's his character. It's like he's addicted to solving puzzles, and it's like, okay, well, so at any puzzle in a dungeon somewhere, you got your guy.
Yeah.
And he's gonna figure it out or kill somebody trying.
Oh man, if I were to expand this and make like much more of a discussion out of it, it would have been cool to say, and then who would the villain be? And the villain would have to be someone from another franchise.
Oh, okay. Yeah, who'd make a good villain for that group?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we got a few responses from people on social media.
Mm-hmm.
We got a bunch on Facebook, most of which were just animated GIFs from Justin from Crit Academy.
Yeah, Justin submitted his 4 characters in the form of GIFs.
And unfortunately, I don't know who some of them are.
Yeah, I don't know who the first one is.
So Lath says Ong from Avatar. Did I say that right?
Aang.
Is it Aang? Oh no, shoot! I said it the way that the crappy movie said it.
Oh no, Gabe.
I need to do this part over. Can I record this part over? I don't know. I guess it's already on. It's on film. I can't say it. All right. So Aang from Avatar. I'm sorry, everybody. I've never seen Avatar, but Sherlock Holmes, Jon Snow, and Hawkeye from MASH. Not Hawkeye from the Avengers,
but
Hawkeye from MASH.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That was Lath. Sean says Batman, Sherlock, Donatello, Mal Reynolds.
Okay.
No one is getting past them. It's pretty good. I didn't even think of Firefly.
Yeah. I didn't think of Ninja Turtles. Like of course.
I mean, there's so many good answers.
Yeah.
Let me just make that clear.
Pretty good.
My friend Haley, actually, she hasn't. I don't think she's replied to anything for a very long time. Haley says Sam from Lord of the Rings.
Good.
Brienne from Game of Thrones.
Awesome.
11 from Stranger Things.
Okay.
And Deadpool.
Dang. That's a good team.
I almost feel like Deadpool should be the DM.
I mean, he's always breaking the fourth wall.
Fourth wall breaking, exactly.
Yeah.
So then Justin has a GIF of a guy in a white shirt and tie looking upward.
Right. Yeah,
I'm sorry, I don't know who that is. He's got Goku.
Hulk Hogan.
He's got Hulk Hogan, and then
Doctor Who.
One of the doctors. And Darth Vader.
Darth Vader. Wait a minute. Oh, that's somebody else. Wait, hold on.
Oh, is that? No, that's somebody else. Sorry. Oh, shoot. The last two were from somebody else. Doctor Who and Darth Vader, and then Iron Man and Worf. Were all from Jeremiah.
Oh, wait. So wait, Justin.
And then
Puss in Boots. Wait, now he's got Dr. House on there.
This is going to be real confusing. So I think they were posting these at the same time.
Yeah, maybe.
Because we've got 2 from Justin.
Wait, we got 5 from Justin, 4 from
Justin. We got 5 from Justin and 4 from
But Justin
Jeremiah.
thinks House would be good too.
Justin does think House and also Puss in Boots.
Yeah, and also Puss in Boots from Shrek.
So, sorry everybody listening at home. That was probably real confusing. Go look at our Facebook.
Yeah, go check our Facebook out.
That'll make sense. We didn't get any on Facebook.
Shame.
None on Twitter, that's unexpected. We usually get a ton on Twitter.
Double shame.
And then on Discord, however, Adam B says Doctor Strange, Sherlock Holmes, Khan, and Aquaman, which I'm guessing is because did Benedict Cumberbatch play Aquaman?
Not that I'm aware of. No,
because Doctor Strange, Sherlock Holmes, and I think it's Khan. He wrote Karn. I think it's supposed to be Khan from Star Trek.
Yeah,
Star Trek Beyond or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I thought he meant too. But no, Aquaman is played by Jason Momoa.
Oh, okay.
Which I mean, like, still a good group. I mean, okay.
Well, so 3 Bumblescum
Bucket Crunderdunder.
Cucumber Sickles was...
Bucket Crunderdunder.
Yes. Stilskin Kupo 84 says, Spawn, Batman, Star-Lord, and Grace from Grace Under Fire. Just for the intra-party conflict. The last one seems a bit out of the blue, but okay.
Right, yeah. Like...
Mary Sue says Doctor Strange, Sherlock Holmes, Khan, and Wonder Woman. So 3 Benedict Cumberbatches and a Godot.
Yeah.
Jason on here asked the question, are they making a strong team, a balanced team, a fun team, or just 4 people they want to hang out with? I didn't really specify.
Right.
Just an adventuring party. So like however you define adventuring party to be. Yodelea He Who said Professor X, Tim Drake, Shalin Davar, and Satel Shan.
I don't know those last 2 ones. Sadly.
Yeah, me neither. The Beverage Tea has some good ones. The T-800 model from Terminator.
Mm-hmm.
Prince from Purple Rain.
I
think the artist
formerly known as Prince.
The artist, well, he's Prince now. There's presently known as Prince. I guess he died, so formerly known as
the former Prince.
T-800, Prince, MacGyver, and Yoda. And then,
specifically Empire Strikes Back Yoda.
Oh yeah, sorry, Empire Strikes Back Yoda. So Jason clarified after my response. Jason clarified that if he's going for the fighter, priest, mage, thief criteria, he would go Wonder Woman would be the cleric, Zarya from Overwatch is the fighter,
good,
Black Widow as the rogue, and Hermione as the mage.
Oh yeah,
I never would have thought to have Hermione, but that's a great answer.
She's the freaking best. Like that's one hell of a mage.
Yeah. Apparently, and sorry, this is a small tangent, but it's definitely worth mentioning. Jason points out that apparently, according to the writers of the Guardians of the Galaxy animated series, which is Margaret Scott, who we mentioned in the last episode, Peter Quill is a bard, Groot is the cleric or druid, Drask is the fighter or barbarian, and Gamora is the rogue, and then Rocket is a wizard. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Peter Quill as a bard makes a lot of sense. He does literally challenge the BBEG to a dance off
to save the universe.
Yeah, so that's pretty good.
Rocket as the wizard, that makes a lot of sense because he just sort of like pulls stuff out of nowhere. You know, he's
I didn't even think of that.
He's just like, okay, he's got a big gun now. It's like, all right, that's what the wizard's there for. He's the big gun.
Yeah. And then just a couple more. Damien from Adventures in Aurelia says Albus Dumbledore is the sorcerer. Eli Monpress is the rogue. Eli Monpress is from the Legend of Eli Monpress, whatever that is. He's some sort of a rogue. Richard Rahl is a fighter. He is from the Legend of the Seeker or Sword of Truth.
Okay.
And then Durzo Blint is a rogue / ranger.
Durzo Blint, that sounds
from
familiar.
the Night Angels trilogy.
Okay. Huh.
And then Noah Wizard says Locutus of Borg as the tank, which is such a good answer.
Dang it.
I love it.
That's great.
So Locutus of Borg, River Song of Doctor Who as the DPS.
Okay, yes.
Michelle Pfeiffer's character from Ant-Man and the Wasp. So Hank Pym's wife, I don't recall what her first name is, unfortunately.
Okay.
And then Josh Lyman of The West Wing for when the party needs to talk its way out of things.
Josh, okay.
So
of course he would have somebody from West Wing.
Yes.
I love him.
He is a big fan of The West Wing.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great show. It's a great show. If nobody's seen The West Wing, go watch The West Wing.
I am hoping, because at my work, I have Bluetooth earbuds now, so I can watch basically anything on my phone. I do want to start listening to while I'm working. I want to start listening to The West Wing.
And I mean, The West Wing is mostly talking.
Yeah.
Like it's Aaron Sorkin, the whole, he all does walking and talking, so at least you have half of the show.
Yeah.
That actually would be a good show to just listen to.
Cool. So that was the social media question from last week. This week's question, and this may be putting you on the spot, so you don't have to have an answer immediately. But
oh gosh,
what is your favorite fantasy themed joke or riddle?
Oh, my current favorite is I once brought a honeycomb and a jackass into a brothel. You know what? I'll tell the rest later.
I know this reference because somebody was posting about it on Reddit, and someone posted in the book, he actually says the joke.
Right, yeah.
But in the show, I guess he never actually gets to finish it.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, it's a good one. I didn't really put a ton of thought into this at the moment. Maybe I'll have a better one for next time. But where does a D&D player write down his kobold follower on his character sheet?
Under ammunition.
Ammunition, exactly. There you go. So yeah, favorite fantasy themed joke or riddle. So make us laugh, everybody. No pressure. That'll do it for our questions for today. So before we close out, let's wind down a little bit. Let's take a deep breath. Let's remember those who have come before us, maybe the bards who tell the stories of the adventurers who have given their lives so that we may live in a better world, as we toss another log onto the funeral pyre. This funeral pyre story was submitted by Banicula83 on Discord, and it is another short one. Here's my funeral pyre submission. I made a character. He walked up to the Tomb of Horrors. He died. I made a second character for the second run. He died.
Oh.
I played a third character for the Tomb of Horrors. He died before getting in. That's it.
Oh, no.
So let's raise a glass in memory of Banicula's three characters who should have learned to use a raking motion.
Oh, gosh.
Clink. So that's a reference to, in the original first edition Tomb of Horrors, you had to, in order to find the entrance, you had to describe the type of motion you were doing with the type of implement you were using to dig through this hill that it was located under.
Right.
And you had to use a raking motion.
Yeah,
that was
specifically a raking
a raking motion with like an object that was like 3 feet long or longer. So that's been a running gag in our friend group for a long time. You got to use a raking motion.
Yep.
So that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for the Funeral Pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned on the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. Join the discussion on social media. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/interpartyconflict, on Reddit at r/interpartyconflict, on our Interparty Discord, or on Twitter at InPartyConflict for our weekly social media questions. Your answers might end up on the show. Find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you'd like to support the show, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. There's a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is our YouTube channel where we play video games.
Yes. And speaking of video games, check out my side project, the Arcade Memories Podcast. If you'd like to submit your own childhood memories of going to the arcade, record them or write them to me at arcadememoriespodcast@gmail.com. Also, head over to bit.ly/interpartyconflict to take a short survey about our show. What you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. So, Jeff, until next time,
use a raking motion.
There you go.